In the couple Jackie McNamara on, were saying he was a bit of a heartthrob. Do you remember him? Too young for me, Jackie McNamara.
I'm trying to think who that is. No, I don't.
Listen to your patter, John. You're too young.
I know. I did like that. I appreciated that comment. To be fair.
Thanks, so.
Right.
Stephen, you look like you're filming yourself robbing a house.
I know, mate. I'm just trying to... Right, you just carry on, guys. What about G4 claims, Talk about them. 2 seconds. Right, hold on. Right. I'll be back. Just talk amongst yourselves.
All right. So, Nicole, G4 claims. Tell us a wee bit about it.
So, guys, G4 Claims is an accident management service, so we can help you when you have been involved in an accident. Why would you claim your own insurance policy when you can be claiming the at-fault insurance company directly to save your policy being affected? Why would you want to pay your excess? Normally your insurance would take that up front and then they'll want to claim it back when the claim's settled. A claim can take about 69 months to be settled, so you don't want to be out that money and the offset when you can be claiming and leaving your policy totally untouched. So we can get you back on the road with a like-for-like replacement vehicle. We can get your car repaired. We can get, if your car's written off, we can get the money for your car recovered from the pre-accident value directly from the third party. And if you're injured from the accident, we can recover your compensation for you for your injuries. And everything we do is totally free of charge to you. If I can't help you, I just won't help you. I won't ever bill you for our services. We always bill the at-fault insurance. So it's G4 Claims, not at-fault claims. Made easy.
Made easy. I made it back for the made easy bit.
Well done. Welcome back.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to Football Daft a man who has made around 600 club appearances in a career which started at Dunfermline, took him to the likes of Wolves, Aberdeen, Falkirk and Partick Thistle. It was at Celtic where he really made his name known, with 10 years at Parkhead, which included 4 league winners' medals, 3 league and Scottish Cup wins. Oh, his name is McNamara, he's a Celtic boy, right back. His birthday is turning defence into attack. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere, the best you've ever seen. He's Jackie McNamara in the hoops of white and green. Jackie, how you doing?
Brilliant. That's a great intro. That's the best intro I've had.
Sorry, Jackie, I didn't know the words to that one, so I couldn't really join in, mate. Sorry. How are you doing, Jackie? How's things?
Good, mate. Aye, doing good. Just
good,
just been like everybody else, looking forward to getting back out to normal, getting back to normality. But no, I'm feeling good. Feeling
good, mate.
That's good to hear, because you had a wee bit of a health scare last year. You're taken into hospital and stuff like that. Is that all past now? Or?
Yeah, I've got a few operations now, but I'd hopefully my last operation in January there. I'd to get a stent fitted into the artery that ruptured in my brain to divert away from the aneurysm. So, but I've been very, very fortunate, to survive it. The initial one, then the second one that went wrong in the operation and ended up in a coma. So, and to have no real brain damage as well. I think that's they told my wife that if I did survive, I could have brain damage, which maybe some people might think I have after last year, but different wee things. But no, I can laugh about things now. I think you've got to. It's been pretty mental, the different things. And when I was getting somewhere, another wee hiccup, and then go back in for another operation and get a shunt fitted, and different other wee setbacks. So it wasn't just surviving the first bit. It just seems to be, over the course of a year, getting all the different procedures and making sure that try and get back to normal.
That's tremendous to hear that you're getting there, Jackie. Such a short time as well. My dad went through the same situation as yourself, and it took him a long time, man. It took him a long time. So to see you back to near enough full fitness within a year is amazing, mate. Really
mate.
It's I think you obviously we're looking at different things, seeing Alex Ferguson's documentary and different things. His was memory, and that was a big issue to start. Was trying to remember things, and obviously learning to walk and do things again right away. you know, and the things you take for granted. But the memory, you know, that was a real issue, the short-term memory. You know, it was, as I said, I can deal with comedy and laugh because I think that's a good way of dealing with things. But even I used to get little techniques with they come in, the nurses and stuff, and they give me like 5 things to remember. And at the start, you're lucky if I got 2 out of 5. You know, you could ask me a minute later and it was gone. Just totally forgot it. And my wife and my daughter, my oldest daughter, were there when she said to us, we started doing things. She says, right, can you give us 5 words beginning with F?
You know the first one.
so the first one was like friends, family, and I was snookered. Honestly, I couldn't get anything else. I just went, fanny bag. I was like,
fanny bag.
So my wife and daughter was just like that. Oh no! It's like, he's all right.
That's Jackie, brand new. He's all right.
He's back. So I didn't get another 2, but that was enough. The nurse just was kind of laughing and didn't know what to make of it. But
mate, that's like, I mean, it's obviously the brain. Like 2010, get to 2011, I had the same kind. I had swelling in the brain. And I took a seizure, so I was in the Southern General for like 3 months, and it was daft things as well. Like I was waking up, and the nurses were like doing my obs and stuff, and I was adamant at one point I was doing a scene in Holby City. I was adamant. My wife came in and she was talking to me. She's going like that, what? And I'm going, what are you doing, man? Get off the set. I mean, get off the set. And she's like, are you kidding me on? That genuinely thought I was in Holby City. And it's like, laugh about it now, but the brain, do you know what I mean? It's like,
it's amazing. It's amazing how it can recover as well. You know, you just said, I mean, after I came out of the coma, with the drugs, I was hallucinating and different things. You think the nurses are trying to kill you, they think someone's against you and different
mate,
things.
I had exactly the same thing. My wife had to phone the help desk at the hospital and say, look, going to try and calm him down. So I kept phoning my wife going, I was convinced they were all witches. And they were here, there was like a cult, and they were trying to do things to me and all that. And
I shouldn't laugh, man, but it's
well, I can laugh about it now, you know what I mean?
It's so ridiculous though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Genuinely think at one point I went for one of the nurses. I went for her trying to get out because I was in the Southern, and at night I could see like the flashing motors going by for the motorway from the distance, and I was convinced it was a motorcycle gang coming to get me, and the nurses were holding me there and stuff like that. It's insane, but we can laugh about it now, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nobody else is a laugh, Jackie. This situation at Parkhead, isn't it?
It's going to make you know well again, Jackie.
I know it's tough to watch you now, but I suppose it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I mean, you've had the bragging rights for the last 10 years. You at Rangers' expense and rub it in. In fact, I went to a game. Was it a semi-final a couple of years ago? I think Hampden. Was it Murty? Was it the one Andy Halliday came off?
Andy Halliday was up. It was Murty.
4-0. It was 4-0 going on like
44.
And it was like men against boys in that game, and it was hard. It was actually hard to enjoy it because it was the gulf was so much, you know. And I feeling I couldn't see Rangers closing the gap as quickly as they could. To be fair, you know, and they have. Celtics went back a bit, and Rangers have came forward stronger, and have obviously deserved the league. But I think with Celtic now, it's a full transition now. You know, between manager, obviously Peter's going, you guys coming in as well, and then they get all the backroom staff and then all the players. So it might be a bit of a tough one this season as well.
Tell me this one, right? You've done a lot of work for Celtic TV recently, covering the games and stuff. Is there any reason why they put Charlie Mulgrew closest to the camera and all the wee people further away so that he looks like an absolute giant? Somebody needs to talk me through this, because honest to God, yourself and Gordon Strachan looked about the same height as me because Charlie Mulgrew was the closest to the camera. What are they thinking? Somebody needs to get a hold of him, man.
To be fair, I've not done it with Charlie yet. I only done, was it Stubbsy? So that wasn't too bad. You know, Stubbsy's obviously a good bit taller, but I seen the one with Gordon with Charlie. It's a bit of a mismatch.
My money would still be on Gordon to leather him, but...
Oh, aye, no doubt about
it. So, like, obviously, Jackie, there's been it's been highlighted in the press a lot, the whole Eddie Howe, like Celtic going for Eddie Howe and stuff. So, that's kind of looking like it's over now. But this new guy, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him Ange, right?
Postecoglou.
Aye, there you go. So, what do you make of Postecoglou? Do you know much about him, Jackie?
Don't know anything about him, mate.
Did you ever play for Australia, Jackie?
Maybe I can't remember. No, I honestly don't know anything about him. I know that obviously he was the Australian national manager and different things. I'd heard that he was in for the Rangers job before Pedro.
I think he was, mate. He was. I remember him being mentioned then. Aye.
So they chose Pedro over him.
That's not great if that's.
No, it's certainly not. It's not a good indicator, is it at all, man?
But
it is for me.
So I think I don't know what to think. I don't know enough about him. What he, if he's any good. Eddie Howe, I like the sound of that because I done my pro license with him over in Belfast, and I was quite impressed with him, and I thought he'd been a good appointment. But obviously, for one reason or another, it's not worked out for him, or he's not took it.
Definitely, but
I wish there was a wee bit more clarity though as to why. See this whole situation out with our control and out with Eddie's control. That's not clear enough for me. Celtic fans have been strung along for 3 months now. You know what I mean? And then they turn around and put out a 5-line statement about it. Nah, it's not good enough, man. They're taking the Lennies.
It's I think it's just a strange one. It looked like it was a definite. At the start, it looked like we're waiting to the end until Bournemouth had decided if they were going up or not. Back into the Prem and different things. As soon as that, I was thinking, right, that's going to be it now. And you're hearing wee bits that he couldn't get his staff to come up. They weren't coming with him, but then you look at the jobs that have just came available down here in England. And you think, is that a reason as well? Is it, the Everton? There's
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace. He was linked with.
I think it's got to be a factor, mate. I think looking at it now, he's obviously when Celtic first approached him. Excuse me, there wasn't really a lot of jobs kicking about, like doing in with the Ultra like Palace and Everton, and now they've came about and Wolves and stuff like that. I think that's
Everton's a hugely attractive job for a manager down south.
Definitely.
If Wolves as well, Wolves have got a great club, but I just don't understand the Crystal Palace thing. I think Crystal Palace are also runs all the time. Does he think that he's maybe going to go there and take them up that level? Because I think going to a club like that is only going to hinder a manager in the situation that they're in. You know what I mean? Obviously, you've been at Wolves, Jackie. You know what the situation's like down there. It's a huge club.
Yeah, a huge club, but I think the scrutiny and the pressure isn't the same as what he would experience at Celtic in the Goldfish Bowl.
No,
it would be a lot easier. He could finish 10th and be a successful season. Just staying in the Premier League that's what kind of success is now. In the English Premier League, whereas up here he needs to be first.
Aye. Because up here basically you finish second. It's last. You know what I mean? So it's kind of.
I think we've seen that this season. With Neil leaving and the fallout with that and the fans and you can't be second, unfortunately.
It's a strange one for me because there's no way that backroom staff hadn't spoke to him about coming up here before. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if he's went, all right, that's the season over. Do you want to come up to Glasgow with me? And they've all went, nah, man. Do you know, there's no honestly, way that's the case. No way.
I can't wait for this interview. At the end of this interview when you go, Jackie, because I've got so much ammo here to rip the James Blunt out of a toll today, man, because I can see how angry he is about this whole thing, man. Your face is getting redder and redder, toll, man.
It's not. I've just turned the heat lamp on. That's all.
Right, let's try and cheer you up, toll. Jackie, let's talk about your career, right, mate? Let's obviously you go to Celtic for Dunfermline, am I right?
Yeah.
How did that move come about?
Came about. Tommy Burns and Billy Stark. They tried to get us. I think he put an offer in, Dunfermline rejected. There was a few sniffing about at the time, a couple down in England, and you know, I had a relatively good season the year before, and I started the new season, and it was before obviously the transfer window, so I went in the October for 650 grand, which was a bit of a lifesaver for Dunfermline at the time financially.
Did you make your debut that day, Jackie?
That night, I had.
Did you?
I had signed and went along to Celtic Park, then done my medical, into the stadium and signed everything. While I was signing everything, my dad's car got broken into in the car park and stole my boots and my shinnies. So,
no way.
So Tommy, the gaffer, was like, I'm going to start you tonight. I'm going to give you your debut. You know, I spent all day obviously doing my medical and signing. And I was like, brilliant, you know, get out of the way. I'm going to play tonight. It was Falkirk at Old Brockville Stadium.
That's right.
And so I had to borrow somebody's boots and shin guards. I was absolutely bricking it, man. Bad enough, you know, making your debut and new team, new players, big club. But, you know, I was a wee bit, no precious about my boots, but I like, you know,
you like to wear your own boots.
You like to wear your own boots and shin guards. So, but fortunately, I came through it well, and you know, it was a steady enough debut.
Were you a Celtic fan growing up, Jackie?
Yeah, started there. I think between Celtic, obviously, I was my dad, following my dad. My dad started at Celtic and went to Hibs. So, you know, early enough when I used to go to the games, sort of as I was getting older, but I always kind of liked Celtic for where he started.
Like I remember, like obviously Tommy Burns, legend and that, and the team was so famous. And I remember for playing such good football. Like you've come into that team. There's Pierre Van Hooijdonk, there's Cadet and the Canny and stuff. I mean, how good was that team to play in?
That's the best Celtic team I've ever seen.
I would say. I mean, myself, like, looking back, obviously as a wee guy, and I remember the way I would see it all the time. But the use would be all errors, constantly pummeling us, and then Loudrip or Gaza or McCoy who got to part and score. Do you know what I mean? And we'd get out of jail. Do you know what I mean?
It was great. I actually loved playing in it. I think if even saying it, my son, when you look at games now and watch matches, you know, the pace that it was played at, and it was just attack, get the ball into strikers moving. You know, now you've got the balls pass along to centre half to the goalkeeper. Suddenly the goalkeepers want to be kicking the ball and passing the ball and all that now. Whereas, you know, back in the day, it was like, get it forward. Let's go and score another one. Try and get another one.
You didn't even want Gordon Marshall to have the ball in his hands. Never mind at his feet. But you and Simon Donnelly had such a great partnership down the right hand side in that team. And there's always one game that sticks out in my memory, and it was Hibs at Easter Road, and you scored a goal. Remember, you lobbed the goalie. That was a great goal. Like, see that game, that just epitomised that full Celtic team for me. They were unbelievable from start to finish, and that was a decent Hibs side that used Tory Ribbons as well.
It was a good. They were a decent side, Hibs then, and I liked Murrow as a manager, but it was equally pleasing for me because Hibs let me go as a kid. They said I was too small, so I don't know why, but I always seemed to come back and, you know, score against them or do well against them. And that was my first goal for Celtic. Was, I think, a month after I left Dunfermline and signed for Celtic. I got at Easter Road against Jim Leighton, and I scored against them in the cup final as well. So, it just seemed to go well against them after they let us go when I was younger.
What was your most memorable goal for Celtic? Was it Liverpool?
I think that was the one that really helped me at the time of my career. I mean, that season was probably one of my favourite seasons. They stopped me 10 in a row. You know, you had...
Don't remember it, mate.
Personally, with, you know, the Gascoigne and Loudrips and guys you're up against, I was fortunate enough to be Player of the Year that year. And, you know, for me, that was unbelievable achievement with Larson's and all that in the country as well. So, and it's the only season that I've played in my career that I played right wing. Never played there again after that season.
Really?
So, yeah.
Like, so see Stoke 10, Jackie. Like, I mean, what see the dressing room at the start of that season when Wim Janssen's there. What was the players' reactions like to Wim Janssen coming in?
It was tough at the start. It was tough because, you know, like we lost the first 2 games, Hibs away and then Dunfermline at home. But you know, he had a quiet and a calmness about him, Vim. But you know, you didn't really know where he stood with him. And you know, as I said, I was renowned for getting forward for right back and overlapping, and but he didn't want his full backs doing that. So I found myself out the team. Then I came back in just before Liverpool. You know, and then started Liverpool and scored then, and then obviously from then on that season, it really helped me. But it was tough at the start. You know, there's a few fights as well. With one that was.
Aye, what happened? What happened?
Tell us about the fights, Jackie. Tell us.
No, I'm just boiling over. In fact, it was the day before the first Old Firm game, the Rangers game, the Ibrox, when Richard Gough scored. You know, and put his hands up. Tosh and Henrik kind of been brewing, not between they two, but I think in general, just with some boys that were left out, and then they squared up, and then Tosh put the head on them, which was a brilliant.
And
put the head on Henrik.
That was the last we seen of Tosh McKinley.
Day before, so the game, the Rangers the next day, obviously, you seen Henrik with the black eyes, but it was a sore one. But I think in a sort of perverse way, it actually helped the dressing room. You know, kind of brought us all together, and there's a few things throughout that season that helped us.
Oh man, Henrik, he stuck on it, and then we still didn't win the league, don't we?
So,
but what was the feeling like when you stopped the 10? But what was the dressing room like that day, Jackie? You must have some good memories that day.
It was, I think it was brilliant just to be involved in it. I think for the fans and, you know, yourself, maybe a bit like this season, you go through all that, the change and everything else, and the dominance in the league. And as you said, Rangers were a good team. You know what I mean? They were right throughout, internationals, top players, and we were underdogs that season. The boys come in last minute, and I think to do it was just such a relief in the end. You know, not just for the club, but you know, you look at the Lisbon Lions who created the record first for their legacy, and it was just, I think it's so important. A wee bit like this year, you know.
Well, your dad was part of the 9-0 team.
Yeah, till the end of it.
So,
I mean, I think you look at this year, no, as I said, it's been a bit of a disaster from our side, but you know, the best team ever, Celtic, couldn't get to the 10. You know, it's a difficult thing to do, for obvious reasons. It's not happening.
Well, mate, that was, I mean, a few boys in the work were thought about that. I mean, you see, like, was it Jock Stein, couldn't he? And then you go like Walter Smith, couldn't he? And I mean, there's been so many.
And John Kennedy, couldn't he?
Right, talk about your next manager like that, Tom, man. I mean,
oh, fuck's sake! Don't say that, for fuck's sake. So, what was you? Obviously, you worked under Wim Janssen, you worked under Tommy Burns, you worked under Martin O'Neill. Who out of those Celtic managers, and in fact any manager that you've worked under, who's the best that you've worked under?
The hard one, Martin, obviously the most successful. He was totally different. I think every one that I had was different. I had 6 managers in my 10 years there. You know, starting with Tommy, then Vim, then Dr. Joe, then John Barnes, and Dalglish took over at the end of that season, which for me was great because he was my hero growing up, Ken Kenny. And Martin was, I mean, every one of them was different. You know, their own different wee traits and how they went about it. And Martin was obviously the most successful in my 10 years there, getting us to a European Cup final. But I think he was good at identifying good players and getting them in, and his you know, psychology. That was his biggest point, Martin, in the dressing room. He was different class.
Definitely, because I remember, like, obviously it was obviously Rangers. You stopped to 10 and stuff, and then Advocaat's been there. Advocaat's come in, and obviously well documented the money we spent and the football we played. But then when Martin O'Neill came in, it was like a total, absolute I don't know, it was like an absolute shock to the system, man. Like, I remember the 6-2 game at Parkhead and stuff, and you're going, what is going on here? And you see players that we're talking about, like Bobo and Johan, and it's like these big guys, and like you just couldn't get near them. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was total disaster for your side, but for you, it must have been like, you must have been going, the tables are fully turned now. Do you know what I mean? Like, must have felt unbeatable then.
Yeah, as I said, I think the players that he brought in and the ones that were still there, he made them better. Just not by coaching, you know. I think it's a big thing now. We talk about coaching players. It wasn't about the coaching side of it. It was more the, you know, the psychology side of it, and making them feel good, feel, you know, that they're invincible.
I've never seen a turnaround in a player like Bobby Petter.
I only done a couple of games though, didn't I?
It's two decent games.
6-2 games.
That's what I was going to say there, man. I don't really remember him playing that well. Quite a lot, Cole, man.
Bobby, man, he was some boy. I mean, one time the two of us were injured at Barrafield and doing the physios told us to do a 4-minute run. Just started off. It was even normally it is a bad day at Barrafield, raining or whatever. But Bobby's like, I hate outdoors, man. Kind of in the wrong job. You know, he's 5-a-side football.
A football player saying he hates outdoors.
Hate outdoors, man. He's a DJ now, isn't he? He's a DJ. Hey, Bobby.
DJ Petter.
DJ Petter.
DJ Bobby P.
Bobby P. But no,
how did you go on with Martin O'Neill, Jackie?
Got on well with him, probably best at the end. Again, he was quite, not say aloof, but he was quite, you know, he didn't know where you stood with him. He just, if one of the boys was standing talking to him, he'd be like, he's talking to the gaffer, fucking, you know, like in the gaffer's ass, you know.
Aye.
Because he wasn't like, I wouldn't say he was non-approachable, but it was a wee bit standoffish with him.
You get that impression with him. You get the impression that he's quite abrupt. You know what I mean? And it would be quite an intimidating character to speak to. Because one of the boys was speaking to him, or you know, the other boys were making faces like we Stilly and Petrov came in one day to training, and we were in the changing room. He's like, Jack, come here. And we looked in, and Big Sutty's standing in the shower, and Martin's got his back to us, and Sutty's there, and we are just like, you know, making faces, the gaffer, and you and the gaffer, you know, like that. And Big Sutty goes, Gaffer, Jackie and Stillion's making faces behind your back.
Oh no!
Like, big dirty. So
Big Sutton's a grass.
So we actually dived down the side to the toilets and just seen his shadow coming past. I was like, there's two wee boys hiding. You know what I mean? But that's Sutton in a nutshell. You know what I mean?
You obviously you've been in with a lot of characters at Parkhead, but you mentioned DeCanio earlier on. You've got to have some stories about DeCanio, you know.
DeCanio's he was a nutter. He was probably one of the best trainers I ever played with. You know, he never left anything out there. Give everything in the training session. That's what he was like when you seen him in a match. You know, if he was going scrapping and fighting, he was like that in training. And Tommy sent him off one day for training at Barrafield.
Is that the day he walked at home?
Yep. Aye. He was
walked at home in his football boots.
There was a supporter behind the fence, and because he was shouting at the gaffer back and everything, it's like, don't you shout, and he started shouting at him, and he supported behind. But he was a nutter, Paolo.
He was an absolute talent, though, wasn't he? He was like some player, man. He was phenomenal.
He was. I mean, I know that's kind of talking about before, but I think he was an individual. It was finding, you know, the season before he came in. You know, as you said earlier, I had Simon in front of me and made a structure, a 4-4-2. Then Paolo came in and played. Then you had Cadet, Van Hooijdonk, Andy Tom. So he was trying to find a position for them all, because you can't play 4 forwards. So he put Paolo sometimes in right midfield ahead of me, and I didn't enjoy that side because he would overlap him, and he would check again. You're just doing, it was not the biggest team player, shall we say.
Aye. Like Jackie, you were saying, like in our Patreon, when we do the teammates, you were talking about Didier Agat. So you were saying like he kind of took your position a wee bit. So how did that? What happened there? Were you in and then he was in? Or
I get injured away with Scotland, in Scotland squad, and he came back. It was a home game because I'd started that season with Martin, and as I said, he started with his 3 centre halves, a bit like Water did. And I was playing right wing back, the 6-2 game. We started the season really well, and I was in the team. Then I got injured away with Scotland, and then we played St Mirren at home on the Saturday, and I missed it obviously. And I was wondering who was going to play in my position, and he started a gap, and he's a good game. And I was sitting watching the stand and going, right, that's me going to be sitting watching for a while now, to get my position back. So I ended up having to move around the team to get a position, whether it be centre half, centre midfield, left back, and eventually we'd lost quite a few. No, lost them, but we had a wee kind of tough spell with Rangers, with Eck was in charge. We played the 3 up, with a 4-3-3, and Rangers had a few wins against us, and eventually he changed it back to a 4. Martin. It was after the Boa Vista game we got to the final. Beach Ball Sunday, went back to the 4 there, and I think we won 7 or 8 in the bounce after that. The whole of the following season we won all the games, the whitewash. So that was a turning point again.
Like when you look back, Jackie, like how did it kind of? When I think like yourself, I just think you were at Celtic for forever. Do you know what I mean? But how did it all come to an end at Celtic?
It came to an end of Martin leaving, although I didn't know I was leaving. Gordon came in at the end of it. It was a tough one to accept, and obviously when I went down to Wales, I was a wee bit bitter about it for a few years.
Do you know what, Jackie? Do you know what stands out to me? That was the season when we signed the deal with Nike to make our jerseys, and you were the model. Remember, you were the model for the kit for next season, and then all of a sudden you're just not even there anymore. It was a strange one for me.
But the week before Martin left, like he pulled a few of us into his office, 5 of us, myself, Stillian, Chris Sutton, Alan Thompson, and Lenny. And he said, look, Gordon's coming in, he's going to be a new manager. I was out of contract, so was Lenny. The rest of them had another year. And he said, look, I've told Gordon these are the 5 guys that, you can hang your hat on, can rely on them and stuff. And obviously I was the first to go out of that 5. Then Sutty got injured in that media game. And he left, in the January. Then Alan Thompson, then Stillian. The only one that stayed on was Lenny.
The teacher's pet.
That my testimonial was my last game. I didn't know it was going to be my last game. The first offer that the club gave us to re-sign was, I think, the 4th of June, which is way too long, and it wasn't right. And I had another meeting scheduled. I went to see Gordon, and when I went to his office to speak to him after that, I think it was about the 7th or 8th of June, he's like, it's the first offer. And I was like, starting pre-season soon. And so with another meeting scheduled, and they changed the meeting. They said that they couldn't do it. I just thought, they're not wanting me here. You don't, wasn't it? And I wasn't difficult to deal with. As long as if I was on anywhere near the top, it wasn't even a third. Guys like Bobo and that was one, so it wasn't even an issue, the money. He got his own guys in, Telfer and Mo Kamara, and John.
Two Celtic legends.
I was going to say John Virgil. Adam Virgil.
John Virgil.
He bought from Brighton.
Brighton, wasn't it?
When we signed him, we were snookered, weren't we? Way, there we go.
Have you spoken to Strachan since? Have you seen him over the years and spoke to him since?
Seen him aside, but to be honest, I've been in management myself, and it's and obviously the other side of the business. And as a player, you're a piece of meat. If they want you, great. If they don't, it's. I just, if anything, I would like to say, look, we're moving on to somebody else and say churro to everybody. When it's put across to the fans, especially after my testimonial, oh, you're taking the money and you're running, which is not the case at all, So
no, of course.
But I've seen Gordon many a time. As I said, I've been in management now myself, and you make decisions and you live and die by them. So
after Celtic, Jackie, where was it you went after Celtic? Was it Wolves?
Yeah.
How did you find it there going from Celtic to Wolves?
I found it tough, mate. I found that I actually enjoyed it. I found it tough to adapt to. My first game was against Southampton. It was live in Sky and a comfortable enough debut. And it was 0-0 the game. And the boys after it in the changing room, that's a good point down here. And I'm like raging because we've dropped 2 points. I think that's
that mentality.
Aye, and I think that's what I had at 10 years. As we said earlier, second, you need to win every game, and just lost 2 points a day. And that's took you a bit of time to adjust to that. And I was enjoying it. I thought Hoddle was class. Glenn Hoddle, really.
I was going to ask you that. Was he a good man? Was he good? Aye.
He was good. I mean, he had his stuff there in the past, but I thought in terms of football, I thought he was way ahead of the time. With some of the stuff that he'd done, and he could still strike the ball with both feet and do the types of set pieces. So I enjoyed working with him. Ruptured my ACL after 8 games. I'd done it in training.
Did he send you your faith healer?
No, but actually, I mean, we came in the changing room, and with the club doctor, the 2 physios and 2 masseurs there, and I'm lying on the table, and he says, "I'm going to warn you." He says, "Glenn will come in and touch your knee." I was like, "What?" He says, "I'm telling you, Jackie." He says, "The gaffer will come in. He thinks he's got healing hands, and he'll touch your leg and all that." And I'm
like, Mr. Miyagi.
So
I'm thinking of Marvin Andrews.
So I thought they're winding me up. You know what I mean? I thought, I've been here for 4 months. You try to wind me up now, and they're like, "No, I'm serious." And then he came in. The gaffer came in, and he's like, "You all right, Jack?" He kind of soft Cockney voice. I went, "Aye, gaffer." I says, "Look, they're saying I've ruptured my cruciate." And I said, "See, to be honest, see if it'd been a year older, I'd probably just played on without it, just bulked my thighs up a wee bit more." And yeah. And he's, "Where is it?" And he just put his hands on my knee, the 2 hands on me, and the 4 of them just turned their backs. They couldn't look. And I was like, didn't know what he's saying. So he starts like, "Where is it? Is it there?" And I was like, yeah, it's my cruciate, where it normally is, and then he turned into the masseurs, and they've kind of turned back, and he said to one of them, "Mark, can you do a bit of recce on it? A bit of recce?" And he's like, I don't know how to do recce, gaffer. I don't know how to do that. And so he's walked away. Glenn's walked away into the toilet, but they thought he went away out the changing room, so they start hammering him behind his back.
Oh no, man!
And I'm sitting there. I thought he was away as well, and they're going, "Oh, Mark, a bit of recce." And we had this kind of drink called Regal. It's a recovery, a protein drink. Yeah, the bit of recce Regal. Drink a bit of recce Regal. And all you heard was the flush of the toilet. I mean, all their faces just... and, they thought I'd come back out, and they just went all the way pure white. And then Glenn just walked out the changing room, but they must have thought they were going to get sacked at that point.
He had the last laugh when you started next Saturday.
Just the image of you sitting there and the manager, and not just any manager, somebody like Glenn Hoddle. You know what I mean? He's got a bit about him. Walking in and just putting his on. Jackie, I've heard a rumour for years now. I don't know if this is true or not. Did you and Simon, or just you, I don't know, Wani, did you write a sitcom?
Yeah, me.
I thought that, mate.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Send it over, we'll see if we can get it made.
I filmed a pilot. I'd done it. I'd broke my leg at Thistle just at the tail end of my career, and I had a bit of time in my hands, and I was coming to the end of my career. And I just started jotting things down, just wee stories and wee bits, and then I bumped into Franco Hooley. He was in Still Game.
Aye.
He's in River City, actually.
Mate, he was in. I was talking to him the other day. Aye, I know Frank. Aye.
So I was talking to the big man, and then I said, "Look, I was going to do this wee bit," and then he said, "Why don't we write it down like that?" And we we wrote about 9 episodes.
Wow.
We done a pilot, and we filmed it at Falkirk Stadium.
Was it based around football?
Aye, it was called the Therapy Room. So basically,
starring Glenn Hoddle.
So basically, it was like a video diary. So the player would go into the video diary and tell his story, but then it would actually click to the actual event, and you would see that us players would just talk shite and tell lies to the press every day.
Right.
Because it starts off with a boy with amateur and goes to the Premier League, and in his debut, he misses a sit on his debut. And he comes and speaks to the video diary, and the fans were brilliant with me. It took me, right away. They took to me, and it goes right to the bit where he comes in, and they're all going mental, and slaughter him, call him all the things under the sun. He gets a pie in the face, and he's like, and if the manager was brilliant, took me aside, at my debut, told me what I'd done wrong, and it goes into the dressing room, and the manager
strips off him.
Just basically. And the manager who played by Gary Lewis, he was brilliant.
Gary's a fucking brilliant actor, man. Mate, that's decent fucking pedigree actors you're getting now.
Well, he was a family friend, Gary, and he read the script. And a lot of actors and actresses turned up to do it because they'd seen the script. But we tried tickets. We took into the guy at the BBC, me and Fran, and you and Angus.
I know you and I.
He's no comedy. So it says like he took us in this glass box, put it on, and it's just the 3 of us in the room, and he said to me and Fran, "I've got to warn you before we start, I don't laugh or smile." I was like, to Fran, I was like, "He's in the wrong fucking job, is he not? Head of comedy."
Him and Bobby Pett are doing fucking comedy outside.
I'm still employed by the BBC, so I'm making no comments here. He's
not there anymore, you're all right.
I know, but there's still people that I know. I'm no comment.
So he told us, like my young brother played one of the parts in the first bit. He said, "I thought you'd done very well and but it wouldn't be for the BBC kind of thing." But
there, mate. I've been there.
So that was the first one, and the other ones we had written were. So it would change for different player or even the manager, a whole episode on the manager, And
that's a good idea, man.
That's a good idea. It really is. There's not been anything like that since not a lot of Scottish football comedy.
Well, I've seen a few other ones.
Partick back in the day.
I've seen a few other ones, and I'm like, my stuff's funnier than that. You know what I mean?
Because your stuff's authentic, and your stuff is stuff you've lived. It's real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's obviously you've got to be careful with the swearing and the language, and how you put certain words you can't really use, but I still think the concept is there with, because when you see it, I mean, I've done it myself as a manager. You stand there and sometimes you want to just say what you really think. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you think of him? Yeah.
Talking about your management career as well, Jackie, once you get yourself back to full fitness, do you think you would ever go back into management?
I would never say never, but I don't miss it enough. I just look at there and I see guys standing at the side of the park, and it's changed so much. I enjoyed a wee spell. I enjoyed a spell at Thistle before I went to United when they were playing and doing it the right way, and at United when I had the players before they were sold, and I get the blame for it. But I enjoyed the Saturday. I looked forward to it. As a manager, I actually couldn't wait, like I was a young player again myself. I looked forward to the Saturday, and who's going to score and everything else, but it just becomes more about survival now than actual enjoyment, the entertainment side of it. You know, I wanted to see my team playing well, attacking, getting at people, creating opportunities, and now it's, you know, you see it, you know, every season. Oh, it's going to be a miracle if we get to top 6. It's going to be there. It's just purely on survival, unfortunately.
Okay. Right, you're talking about, like, obviously survival, mate, right? Scotland survived the qualifiers and they've got there, mate, and you're one of the very few kicking about that have actually been to a major tournament for Scotland, mate. Do you know what I mean? So what do you think are chances coming up in about 2 weeks' time?
I think we're going to win it.
I'm not asking you, I'm asking Jackie.
I'm actually quietly confident, but I think we always are, aren't we? I think we're always. But I mean, last night I thought we looked decent. I think we carry our today. I think we've got a good group of players, good pace in our team, midfield to front, a lot of good midfielders, you know, defenders. You know, with Tierney and Robertson both down there as well. I think we could surprise a few, you know, like we did last night. I thought we should have won last night.
I wasn't even a foul. The bloody free kick. I mean, it was some free kick for Memphis Depay. It was a peach, but it wasn't even a foul. Do you know what I mean?
But it's just, it's just great to be there. It's just great to be there again, isn't it? And be involved.
See, we need to get out of that. We need to get out of that mentality, but don't we? It's just good to be there, eh?
Well, mate, no, we've not been there since 1998.
5-0 to England. At least we're there to get pumped.
I mean, I think we're at. I think that's the right way for the approach for the players and the management. You know, they're just now underdogs. We're always better when we're underdogs. We struggle when we're favourites for anything. I
think so, mate. I do. I think that, and I hope, like, obviously we're going to be major underdogs playing England at Wembley, aren't we? But you're looking at it going, that is a night we could be a lot of sore heads the next day after that game.
We were unlucky the last time against them, you know, with the wee Griffiths, the 2 free kicks, and then we got a goal on the late on. But
definitely, mate, definitely. But we shall see. But Jackie, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate, and I really, me and Tol and John, appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, yeah.
Now, Jackie, every week on Football Daft, we put our guests' Scottish football knowledge to the test with a 90-second quiz. Right, you up for it?
Yep.
I didn't tell you this before I got you on.
I've got a good excuse though if I'm.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say.
My selective memory.
But we've got a leaderboard, mate. So at the top of the leaderboard with a score of 16 is David Martindale, current Livy boss. In joint second, it's John Sutton, Chick Young. And joining them is Scott Martin, who was on a couple of weeks, Hamilton player. We've got Mark Wilson and Keith Lasley are in third with 14. Other selected scores include Peter Grant on 13, Rab Douglas on 10, Yogi Hughes on 6, and Barry Feastenders is on 4, mate. And at the bottom, it's a tie between Peter Lovencrans, Derek Johnston, Craig Levine, and Mixu Patalainen, who are on 3. Is there anybody there you want to beat?
Yeah, there's a few there. Like, I need to get above 3 for God's sake. Aye. You know what I mean?
But mate, you get 90 seconds and you cannot pass. Even if you don't know the answer, you must give a answer. All right, mate?
Okay. Yeah.
Brilliant. Tol, do you want me to read the questions, or do you want to read them, mate?
I'll do the questions.
No worries, mate. No worries, my man.
Right, okay, though. Right, John, have we got 90 seconds on the clock?
We have indeed.
Jackie, your time starts now. Which team were relegated from the top flight?
How do we start?
Just say anything, man.
Come on.
Right, which stadium has a higher capacity, McDermott Park or East End Park?
East End.
Name the only scorer in this year's Scottish Cup final.
Sean Rooney.
How many goals did you score for Dunfermline?
2.
Who are Morton's current shirt sponsors?
Buchanan's Toffee, no? Don't know.
How many rounds of games are there after the Premiership split?
1.
Name either team Alex Ferguson managed in Scotland apart from Aberdeen.
St Mirren.
In what year did you join Falkirk?
2007.
Which is the only McGinn brother still playing at Hibs?
Paul.
Jordan McGee is the club captain of which team?
Inverness.
Who have Real Madrid just appointed as manager?
Ancelotti.
What was your squad number for Falkirk in the 2009 Scottish Cup final?
5.
John Fleck currently plays for which club?
Sheffield United.
Which forward has just signed a 1-year extension at Aberdeen?
Time.
Let him answer, but let him answer.
Hendry. Is it? Callum Hendry? No.
Well, you'll find out in a moment.
Producer John will give you the correct answers and the wrong answers and the score.
Right, we'll go through your wrong answers. Jackie, relegated from the top flight leagues. It was Brecon, who went down and chose to play in the Highlands.
I think that's a poorly worded question, John.
Poorly worded question, was it?
I think
I was going to say Brecon, but I thought it was a Premier. All right.
Aye, I think there was a bit of confusion there.
We'll give Jackie a half point then. We'll give Jackie a half point for that.
Aye,
Don't do me any favours. I'm not a charity case. I've got my pride as well, you know.
Listen, you played for Falkirk, Jackie. You get the half point, absolutely. Which stadium has a higher capacity? It was East End Park, right? That one. 4 goals for Dunfermline, Jackie. That's what we have now.
I think Jackie knows better than Andy, mate.
I thought the other two were OGs myself, but I'll take them.
Morton's current shirt sponsor, it's Millions, the Sweeties.
Yeah.
There's 5 games after the Premiership split. You joined Falkirk in 2008. Jordan McGee, Cup captain of Dundee, and it was Niall McGinn who is the forward who's just signed a 1-year extension. So if we're going to give you the half point, no, it's all right. It's all right. You beat Yogi, so 7.5.
Not a great achievement, that.
Brilliant.
So what's the over to get? 7.5?
7.5.
Oh, that's good, Jackie. That's good, mate. That's good. That's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant. Jackie, you're ahead of Mick Sue, you're ahead of Craig Levine, Barry Feastenders, know what I mean, mate? That's achievement, mate.
It's not even a good score. I'll put that one in.
Mate, I was going to end the interview with this, mate. I was going to end the interview with that. You've just absolutely fucking stolen my thunder, man.
Yes, good on you, man.